We met each other. So he moved to our neighborhood, University City in St. Louis. He moved from the inner city of St. Louis in our seventh grade year. So, the tallest gentleman in the back right here, that's been my best friend since I was 4 years old. Some of these other gentlemen went to elementary school with me, and everybody else I pretty much met through him. So Shondo is his name. You would probably remember Shondo from running the merchandise for Nelly back in the day. And so Shondo would bring people by sort of after he vetted them, right? And Nelly was one of the people he brought by, and we started hanging out, and Nelly lived close enough to where he would run home. It was about a half a mile away, and we would try and time it to see how fast he could get home before Sanford and Son started. And he would call me up and have Sanford and Son playing in the background, the opening music, because that was our show. But we hit it off right away, the way we wanted to treat people, the way, we got down. He was obviously much more athletic than I was and much more of a star personality, although in my own right, I like to think of myself as a star, and I think all of us at U City did. But Nelly was like the man you had to beat in anything: basketball, football, baseball. I thought he was going to be the replacement to Ozzie Smith as the greatest shortstop again for the Cardinals. That took
So
place
he really
throughout
he
our.
really was that good of an
Oh,
athlete.
he was our Deion Sanders without a
Okay.
doubt.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
That is very cool. And by the way, I forgot to even say this. For those of you that know me personally, you probably will remember, but basically, one of my first entrepreneurial ventures was a company called the Stronghold Group. And this was back in, like, let's say the year 2000, 99,
yeah,
2000. And the Stronghold Group was, we went out and we partnered with music managers who did not necessarily have a big infrastructure, and then we handled all of their ancillary business deals, such as licensing and merchandising. I'll give you a great example. That means like putting Nelly's picture on posters, calendars, lunch boxes, stuff like that. I'll tell you, the deal I'm most proud of was getting Nelly on the Got Milk campaign.
yeah.
And we had Nelly as the first hip hop artist in the Annie Leibovitz Got Milk campaign. I'm sure you guys all remember all the famous celebrities that were part of the Got Milk campaign. I literally still have a poster of Nelly with Got Milk. He had the mustache on, and then we did kind of a play off of the Tupac Shakur image where he had Thug Life tattooed across his stomach, but we changed it to Chug Life for Got Milk. But that's where JD and I met each other. So JD was managing Nelly and the Saint Lunatics, and then basically you guys were kind of you became my account because I think you and I hit it off. I don't even want to. Yeah, we did. I will say this, and I'm being very genuine. I always had so much respect for you as far as just, man, what you were handling was insane.
Yeah.
And the infrastructure was insane and it was chaotic. So for all of you that are not watching this on Spotify or YouTube, so JD's a white guy, and Nelly and the Saint Lunatics and that whole crowd obviously is predominantly black.
Yeah.
So like, I always loved that. Like, I always like, this is so cool that like they've got a white guy as their manager. And then when I learned, that you guys had been friends growing up and all that, I mean, that's really where you and I's relationship, flourished, because I would bring you the deals, you would take them to Nelly, and 6 weeks later we'd get them approved. But okay, I should have laid that foundation as well. Let's go to. I do want you to tell the story about Charles Barkley, because I think that is a lead into the rest of the stuff we're going to talk.
And so this picture on my shirt, it's the book cover, but it's also our prom picture in color. And, once a year it pops up on some hip hop site promoting it on Facebook or whatnot. And so the at around this time we had a senior trip. And look, the years before us did planning correctly. They did all of this correctly. They went to Bahamas, they went to Jamaica. We drove to Chicago. We were so broke, we didn't have our shit together. Excuse me, can I use
Yeah,
language?
hell yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
okay.
absolutely,
So we
absolutely.
didn't have our shit together. We go out to Chicago. we ended up borrowing my dad's minivan, and 8 of us piled in. So not only were we in Chicago with our class, but 8 of us were not under the supervision of our teachers. We could literally run past them in the hall and they couldn't say anything to us. So one day we're downtown and we're walking the streets of downtown Chicago, and a post office guy stops in the middle of the street. Hey, you kids from out of town? Yeah, we're from out of town. Hey, Charles Barkley's 2 blocks over, 1 block, this way. And Nelly and I are Charles Barkley fanatics. We're fighting everybody in our crew because they're all Jordan fanatics. And you were either Jordan or you were Barkley, and that was it. And so Nelly takes off. Like I said, he was extremely fast. And he just gets in there before the rest of us catch up, and we get in there, and he is standing next to Charles, and he's like, Charles, I just would love an autograph. I'm a huge fan. That's this, that, and the other. And Charles goes, sure, kid. And there's Cedric Ceballos and some other teammates from Phoenix at the time. And a lady that's with him says, now, Charles, before you go signing that autograph, you need to ask them why they're not in school. And we said, oh, no, we're from St. Louis. We're on spring break. We're not, we don't have a basketball team. This is a huge opportunity for us. And he goes, I don't believe you. Go on, kids. Go back to school. And we're like,
That's
what?
funny.
And so Nelly leaves out of there just pissed. I mean, he's pacing back and forth for a little bit. And we finally are like, okay, we're in Chicago. Let's go on with our days. But he remembered that feeling. And so when Nelly's career first took off, I remember us, because we went to baseball games as kids, and we would get the cheapest tickets and we would climb our way down to be banging on the dugout by the end of the game, yelling at the players, he and I.
Want the full truth? Watch the full Deep Shallow Dive interview next. And hit subscribe if you're done with narratives and ready to call a spade a spade.